9:17 in the morning. It's Monday here in Israel, and our weather is kind of interesting today. We're at 66 degrees, high is 79, and just sunny. No rain coming. I think the rain. I'm projecting out about 10 days, and I don't see anything but warm weather. And wow, they're telling us a week from this coming Wednesday, we're going to hit 98 degrees. So I guess we're going to start getting into the 90s pretty soon. And that means the air conditioner, but we don't have to run the hot water heater. Anyway, before we get started being a Bible believing site, I want to do some praise. If you're a believer in Yeshua HaMashiach and you want to join in, that's up to you. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, I'm going to go into the chat and make sure we got sound and picture and things like that. Um, and people will be coming in. It's not going to take very long for me to uh, do what I need to do here. Picture and things like that. Um, we got sound and picture. It's not going to take very long for me to do what I need to do here. Picture and things like that. Um, we got sound and picture. It's not going to take very long for me to do what I need to do here. Like that. We got sound and picture. When you ask me what am I don't have any idea what you really want me to answer. I mean, am I like a cat or a dog or what do you think? I don't know what you're asking me. When you ask me what am I don't have any idea what you really want me to answer. I mean, am I like a cat or a dog? Oh, you put I remove posts in foreign languages because people come in here and curse us. So I didn't block you, but I just took your message down. Just post in English or I take it down. Oh, I remove posts in foreign languages because people come in here and curse us. What am I and what do? I believe in the Old and the New Testament, and I teach Bible prophecies pertaining to Israel. Does that help you? I live in Israel. Okay. So I'm going to get started. We're going to have a I'm going to give you a discourse about, well, we all know pretty much what happened, but I'm going to cover it very briefly what happened, and then we're going to talk about where Israel's going to go with this. And I believe the Lord directed me on this. And when you see it, it's going to make sense. And I'm going to tie everything to Bible prophecy. Jeremiah 30:11, Zechariah 12, Ezekiel 34, the two witnesses. I'm going to put all this in there. It's going to get mingled in as we go along. So, but I believe this is really what's going to happen. Okay, and I think the Lord was correcting me as I was putting this together. So I got the pieces right. Before we start, we have a prayer request for AP Alpha Papa. AP Alpha Papa. Prayer request is for peace and quiet in the neighborhood, no loud music. So prayer request for AP, Alpha Papa, peace and quiet in the neighborhood with no loud music. Okay. So let's start covering. So they sent 330 drones, cruise missiles, and now they say ballistic missiles at Israel. I understand that some of their ballistic missiles, I'm hearing 50, failed to launch. Some, I understand, were blown up at the launch or something like that. Again, you must understand that you need missile launchers. You could have 5 million missiles, but if you've got 10 missile launches, it doesn't do you a lot of good. Now, Iran likes to impress people with them having 350,000 missiles. Now, they lie incessantly, and I doubt they have that many missiles, but they have a very large amount of missiles. This is for sure. I heard an Israeli expert that was a former high ranking Israeli military defense official that went to these war cabinet meetings, things like that. And he said, and I concur with him, that what Iran launched at us 2 days ago was not their, back burner garbage. That was what they have. Okay? They don't have more super high quality missiles. I heard nothing about hypersonic missiles except from some anti Israeli goofball that posts fake news and stuff and tries to sell subscriptions. One of the ballistic missiles wound up floating in the Dead Sea. People say their ballistic missiles are accurate within a few meters. Well, 330 drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles were launched at Israel, and 2 managed to land. They hit a military base, an Air Force base in Israel, and it's got a runway, right? It's paved where the planes go down and take off and land. You know what I'm talking about, not the control tower. And some of the missiles fell there, and they made rather large craters. And it actually took Israel several hours to repair these holes in the runway. What I saw the video is, you use bulldozers and stuff, and you take dirt, you put it in, and they probably have a machine that packs it tight. And then after they got that, so they have several bulldozers working continuously filling it. And then after it's packed tight, they lay down blacktop or concrete, depending on what they're using. And that's it, it's fixed. So that was the whole damage. One 10-year-old, which was a girl in a Bedouin village, got hit by a missile and it damaged her head, but I don't think it's a lethal or major injury. Bedouins, as far as I know, were a spin-off of Mohammedanism, Muslims. And there was some talk of some missiles hitting an Arab village, but that I don't think is confirmed. So that was the whole thing. Now, you have to bear in mind that France has a warship here, and they knocked down a very tiny amount of aerial weapons flying at Israel. The UK knocked down some, and America knocked down many. Jordan knocked down some, and while Saudi Arabia is playing their cards close to their chest, they came out with a statement that if we get unidentified objects like missiles or drones flying over Saudi airspace, we just shoot them down. Which was a very coy way of saying we helped Israel. Okay? So who helped us? Jordan and Saudi. All right. The Israeli guy I was listening to said that Iran can hit most anywhere in Israel except Eilat. Now that doesn't mean they can hit it accurately. Okay. Don't, All right. Now, I didn't think they had ballistic missiles that could go this far, but many people are saying they do. I thought they could barely reach Israel with cruise missiles. A lot of the missiles downed themselves on the way over here. They didn't make it over here. Okay. So essentially, they don't have super crackerjack top notch missiles, which means neither does Lebanon and neither do the militias that Iran supports in Iraq um, and Syria. Okay? They don't have them either. And when you read the news, the media, they tell you about all these amazing weapons that these people have, but I never hear the Israeli government talk about it. And today I heard an ex-government official who's no longer, he's retired, talk about it, and he concurs with what I think. Now, in terms of it took several hours for Iran to launch the 330 weapons. And I would assume if you gave them a 24-hour period, they probably could launch 1,000 weapons at Israel. Now, we need to understand this, okay? That you're doing what's called a swarm attack. You're trying to overwhelm the defenses of the country you're attacking, in this case Israel, so they either run out of anti-missile missiles or they start missing. Okay? Nobody's anti-missile system could hold up if, let's say, somebody sent 4,000 missiles in an hour. Nobody would. Okay? But that requires a lot of missile launches. The Katyushas, are junk terrorist weapons that can't be aimed. They go on a launch platform that's like a piece of metal like this and a base, and then it has an angle here that's usually curved or it could be flat, and the Katyusha's put on there and then it goes off. Okay? I think they can adjust the angle somewhat on that. And that's it. So even those junky things require a launcher. But that's a very simple launcher. Cruise missiles and ballistic missiles require a sophisticated launcher. You can't just put them on a piece of, sheet metal, made out of beer cans and launch them, but you could with a Katyusha. Okay? So we need to understand that. All right? Now, before I start getting into the details, I want you to understand that we never hear Biden talk about Lebanon in months, have we? No. He doesn't criticize Israel about Lebanon. He doesn't tell Israel, bring them aid. He doesn't tell Israel to watch out for the humanitarian crisis, restrain. It tell him nothing. There's a few reasons. Number one, Hezbollah's doing it, and they're on the terrorist watch list of America. Number two, the nation of Lebanon, the legitimate, nation, the de jure government, constantly says we don't want Hezbollah here, but we can't stop them. Okay, and they want help stopping them, but nobody's giving them that help either, because they like Israel suffering. They want to see Israel go away because they're serving the unclean spirits, and Satan wants to see Israel go away for end times reasons. Okay, and that's why every time you hear Biden talk, Israel's only chance of peace is a two-state solution, which was what Obama said. Trump didn't say it as strong as that, but Trump, as soon as he, practically took his hand off the Bible when he was sworn in, all you heard out of him was two-state solution. Satan wants Israel to give up the West Bank. The West Bank includes East Jerusalem, which is where the Dome of the Rock is, and it's also the site of the real Temple Mount, which was dismantled by soldiers many centuries ago, which is perhaps 800 feet away from where the Wailing Wall is. It's very close. It's where the Pool of Siloam is. It's not. The wall was not from the temple. That's to make Yeshua out to be a false prophet, because he says, you see this temple, not one stone will be left standing. Next to the temple, or very close to the temple, I should say, the Romans had a fort, a military fort, to watch the Jews in the temple, and it was called Fort Antonia, or maybe you pronounce it Antonius. And the wall is from there. So the rabbis got the Jews praying at a wall from the Roman fort. I mean, most serious archaeologists know this, you know. And it's, you know, it is what it is, and it makes Yeshua look like a false prophet. All right. So, Iran had to have lost face in this attack. But what these Muslim terrorist, crazy jihadist murderers do is, no matter what happens, we're winning. Now, you see this with Hamas. Hamas is sitting on, we don't know how many hostages left that are alive. It could be 2, it could be 10, it could be 20. It's not many. And, you know, they're running around making believe that they won the war. The place is a garbage heap. The streets are destroyed. The sewage is destroyed. The water is destroyed. The electricity is destroyed. 85% of the houses are damaged and destroyed. The businesses are destroyed. The government buildings are destroyed. Hospitals are destroyed. Okay? And they're running around like they won. They're crazy. You must understand. These are the Hamas and the PIJ people and the Hezbollah people are like the people you find in a prison for the criminally insane. They're insane. You must understand this. What they did to us on October 7th. You also have to understand this to understand what I'm going to be telling you. Iran finances Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and the Iran-backed militia groups, of which there's a variety in Iraq and Syria. And Iran raised these people up to attack Israel and gives them weapons, money, support, training, advisors, etc. ad nauseum. Okay? And this is why Israel keeps hitting Iran. Now, there are people in Israel that came out of Iran, Jews, and they have friends and contacts in Iran. And the scuttlebutt, you know, the talk, scuttlebutts on a Navy ship where they start talking, the sailors talk to each other. Hey, the scuttlebutt is we're going to the Philippines or we're going to China or whatever. You know, the scuttlebutt is Iran is scared to death of Israel. Okay? But unless you live in the Middle East, you don't understand how the Middle East operates. Now, I think operating according to the rules of the Middle East is moronic. Okay, but the government of Israel doesn't share my opinion. Okay, change soon, but they don't share my opinion. So they felt they needed to do a targeted assassination in Damascus, and they got some generals in the consulate. Now, that was to try to get Iran to cut the crap out. It didn't work. Iran's economy is so bad. If you go on a 10 scale and you say 10 is the best economy, 1 is the worst, Iran is a -1. Their rial, their dollar, is $1 US, I think, buys 160,000 Iranian rials. So $5 would get you almost 1 million Iranian rial. Now, who else has bad economies? Turkey, not that bad, but bad. Lebanon, not that bad, but bad. Syria, quite bad. Iraq's not good at all. They're bad. And these are the aggressive states towards Israel. What a coincidence. 330 missiles, drones come at Israel in one day, and 328 never reach or do any damage. Is that not God? I ask you, what do you think? I'm going to check the chat real quick. I mean, you think that's just coincidence? All right, let me make sure I don't have any issues in the chat that I need to dispense with. Hold on. This goes fast. It's not going to take long. My content is here. Go to my YouTube channel homepage. You'll see my content. I don't know what you want me to do. I got to continue with my subjects. I can't go off. Getting all kinds of crazy people here, Jews in the chat. Good point about Gaza. They don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution. They want to conquer Israel. Listen, guys, we don't pray with people we don't know. So knock it off with the posting in the chat. Okay. If you keep posting one more time that we should pray with people we don't know, how can two walk together unless they're agreed? You see all the haters in here? So one more post like that, I'm going to block you, okay? You're spamming the chat. I remove posts that are not. Yeah, well, this guy trying to control the chat is indicative of Satan bot, so no more. Okay, so that sort of sets the stage. So Iran took, I think, 2 weeks. April 1st was the attack in Damascus on the consulate. So I think they took 2 weeks to do their attack. So the cabinet was meeting, the war cabinet in Israel with Netanyahu and Gallant and the whole bunch of them, and they all agreed they need to do a counterattack to Iran. But they didn't. I think they reached a conclusion, but it wasn't publicly revealed. But they said that they're going to try to raise a coalition, and then they'll get even with Iran at their time and place of choosing, which is what Iran told us. So now Iran's under the pressure, but it's not a psychological warfare that the Houthis. Let me explain. Hamas is deactivated. You notice that during the attack from Iran, Hamas did nothing. I don't even think a single missile got out. Okay? So we took a lot of our soldiers out of there, and they're sitting, maybe a half a kilometer inside Israel from Gaza. They have camps there, and they're resting. You know, they got hot food. They probably have tents, so they're out of the heat, they're out of the rain, they're out of the cold. They have electricity somehow, some way, shape, or form. So they have phones, internet, um, food. They get fresh uniforms. They can take showers. And Iran's not going to missile barrage them. First of all, I don't think they could reach that far down in Israel. And if they did, their missiles are so inaccurate they would start landing inside Gaza. So it's a strategy. And the capability of the Hamas to attack the soldiers is obviously nil, or the soldiers wouldn't be there, and if they were, they would be attacking them. So Hamas is reduced to a bunch of Che Guevara style terrorists running around in the jungle with AK 47s and RPGs, but in reality, they're running around in a desert that has buildings and structures and stuff like that. The best they could do is try to disable a tank, which they don't really kill the guys in the tank. They just could hurt the tank at best, probably, with these shoulder fired anti tank weapons they have. And it depends on what tank you're talking about, what model, what version, what year, you know. And they're engaging the soldiers, and occasionally they do wound or kill a soldier, and they get killed a lot, and a lot of surrendering. And we've collected tons of intel from these surrenders. And it appears that after many hundreds of these guys surrendered, I think it's in the thousands recently, in the last 6 weeks or something, there's no good intel for the hostages. So the chances are that Hamas doesn't really know what's up with the hostages anymore. A lot of them were placed in civilian homes, and people have been displaced and move around. And it's thought that many of them are dead. There's still protests in Israel, um, with an effort to let's get the hostages back, but the only kind of a settlement Hamas would really want for the hostages to get returned, and they won't give us a list of the living hostages or anything. So we don't even know. They might only have, 5 or 10 hostages or none. I don't know. They want a massive prisoner release of terrorists that are in prison in Israel for trying to kill Jewish men, women, and children, and security forces and military. And they want thousands of them released, and they'll just go right back to Gaza or in the West Bank and join Hamas or Hezbollah or Al Fatah or other terrorist groups. So that's what they want us to do. And they want us to completely leave Gaza, never to return. So when would they actually return the hostages? Let's say Israel says, okay, we'll leave Gaza, give us the hostages. They say, fine. They move everybody out of Gaza. Hamas gives them the hostages. And then they say, oh, you didn't tell us that all you had was 7 hostages, so we're going back in Gaza. So how does that work? You see how stupid it is? Okay, it doesn't. You can't make that work. And they want, after we leave Gaza, they want a lot of aid. Stuff like this. So many of them are stuck in the Rafah area, which is down south near Egypt, inside Gaza. There's 1 million to 1.5 million people there, and Israel's building 40,000 tents in other parts of Gaza, which is curious because maybe they're going to average 4 people in a tent or 5. So let's say best case, you're going to get 200,000 out of there, unless these are large tents that can house 12 people or something like that. Then it would, which it could be. Nobody told me the size of the tents, so it might be the case. They can get a few 100,000 out of there in tents. So we don't have that many soldiers in the area. But where are they? They're a half a mile, well, not even a half a mile outside of Gaza. So they could just, boom, and what? What's the response time? 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So they're there, but they're not there, okay? And there's still some fighting up in the north. So we're just trying to clean the hornets out of the nest. The hornets aren't really flying out of the nest, going distance and harming us. They're hiding in the nest. All right. So Hamas is contained, but it has to be finished. Now comes the Houthis. They're of no real effect to Israel. Israel doesn't pay much attention to them. They just make sure they have a warship down there and Iron Dome and other anti-missile systems to knock down drones, and it's very hard for the Houthis to get a missile up there, but if they do, we knock it down. That's not a vital interest to us right now. That could change, but right now it's not of essential worth. It's not essentially worth a lot of our time and attention. The militias in Iraq and Syria are harassing America more than they are us. Biden doesn't mind losing face. He doesn't care. And they're threatening him if he helps Israel. So if there's enough attacks on American bases, and there's been probably 100 plus since October 7th, but the amount of casualties is quite low. If they really start pelting the bases with missiles, drones out of Iran, America would be forced to do something. Now, with Biden, something could be withdraw from the Middle East, but I doubt he would do that. So you would have to respond to Iran. So if Netanyahu can manage to cook up a scenario where Iran starts really pelting the American bases from Iran, then he could get America into a war with Iran. Okay? It could happen, and that's one way to get there. Now, what Israel is all about right now is Lebanon. Okay? Lebanon has 100,000 Israelites displaced from their homes near the Lebanon-Israeli border. The Hezbollah is not supposed to be lower than the Litani River, which is 17 or 18 miles away from the border with Israel, depending on where in the river you are. It meanders, So, and it's not the legitimate government of Lebanon. And they're a terrorist group. So, Biden's not helping Israel by, not saying, well, we'll go attack Lebanon with you. But he doesn't talk, neither does Jake Sullivan or Blinken, talk about Lebanon. It's almost like they don't want it out in the media, but it's a very real problem. And the attacks are daily from Lebanon. So Israel, before they attack Iran, they want to clean up Lebanon. They're worried. They don't want to see a lot of junky missiles come in from Lebanon at the same time that Iran is attacking us. They don't want to see drones coming in from Lebanon at the same time. They don't want to see a suicidal rush on the border to try to infiltrate Israel. They don't want any of this. They're smart. So strategically, the next move, and you'll see it, is to clean out Lebanon, which is going to be a ground invasion. And that's one of the reasons we called up a bunch of reservists again yesterday. Now, while Gaza is somewhat calmed down, we're still doing air attacks in Gaza. And we did increase the humanitarian aid to Gaza tremendously, as Biden requested. And we have not invaded Rafah, and we have cut down civilian casualties. So I think to reward us for not killing our enemies, who are dedicated to continuing more attacks like October 7th and have so verbalized it on numerous occasions, he rewarded us by helping us with that. And we were told by, I think it was Sullivan or Blinken, that this was the policy of Obama to just help Israel with defense, not offense. And that's what the American people want, and that's what he's doing. So he's doing a throwback to the Obama administration. I think the American people were pretty disgusted with Obama, as evidenced by Trump getting in. I mean, they didn't like Obama that much. If America had the vote of no confidence that we have in Israel, Obama would have been out in 2 months, 3 months. I mean, anyway. So to finish, what we're doing with Hezbollah now is many air attacks deep in Lebanon. We're not just going to the Litani River, we're going way in. The Israeli land of Lebanon goes up from our border way over 100 miles. So there's a big piece of Lebanon that we will have that belonged to our fathers. So that's, I think it's 183 miles or something. It's quite a lot. So I don't know how deep they're going, but they fly around Beirut a lot. They're not going to listen to the Lebanese government saying, oh, we can't do anything about Hezbollah, because that argument is meaning, well, just forget about it and go home, because there's nothing to be done. And, we can't do that while they're shooting missiles at us and threatening a ground invasion and a massacre like October 7th again. We also can't keep 100,000 people in hotels in other places in Israel much longer. They've been gone for, 5 months or so. So we've been hitting strategic locations, military manufacturing facilities, military equipment, storage, ammunition, missiles, rockets, bullets, stuff like that. And we've been hitting command centers, buildings where the Hezbollah works, and stuff like that. The amount of dead personnel is occurring almost every day, but it's very small amounts. So, what's going to happen is a ground invasion of Lebanon. And it'll start as a shoving back to the Litani River, which is compliance with the UN ruling, which Biden will not enforce, of course. And it'll probably go further than that because they've probably already withdrew a lot of their missiles and equipment north of the Litani River, and they'll be using those. So it's going to be not such a great battle for Israel, but it's going to, you know, they're nothing like Iran. Okay, so it's, you know, we're going to conquer them. We've done it before. We'll do it again, and then we'll put a buffer zone in to the Litani River, probably, which helps them. It helps us because you can't fire anti-tank missiles that far at all, and you can't fire the Katyushas are going to be ineffective at 17, 18 miles. So you've got to use more sophisticated, serious missiles to come at the to come at Israel. Okay, and they don't have that many good ones, by the way. So it's going to be a little bit of a job. So Israel is just saying, look, why the heck should we start with Iran? Let's say we counterattack their attack the other day. Fine. So we send 14 jets and we hit some weapons warehouses, factories, or we hit oil refineries or natural gas refineries or ports and piers or runways or whatever we hit, right? Well, then Iran's just going to load up and come back at us to get them disabled where they can't strike back at us. We probably have to hit 2,500 targets, and then they would be rather crippled, you know, and that's a massive undertaking. You must understand, in terms of the way people that go to war colleges, like Pentagon people and stuff, talk, Israel has no expeditionary capability. Israel can't wage a war far from home. Okay? They could probably work in Egypt. They could probably for sure work even up in Turkey. And they could do Iraq and Syria and Yemen and Saudi Arabia and UAE, you know that, but they can't really do a good job. But when you start talking about Iran and crossing water or along there, they can't do it. To say Israel could conduct a war in Iran in terms of a ground invasion is a joke. They cannot. Okay? They cannot. The only thing they could really do is air attack. Israel can use drones, cruise type missiles, ballistic type missiles, all kinds of stuff, but that's the only way. The Israel Navy doesn't have any big troop transports where you could put, 2,500 troops on and, go land. We don't have anything like that. And Iran doesn't have it either. Now, I'm going to be back in a second. Quick break, and we'll discuss what Iran and Israel have in more detail. So, because of limited military capability, we can rule out Israel loading troops on ships and sailing into the Persian Gulf and invading Iran. That is something Israel has no capability of doing. Next, Iran has no capability of doing that either. While they do have ships, what would happen is Israel would use their jets and their submarines and destroyers to destroy the Iranian ships. The airplanes would take them out, and our missiles would take them out. They wouldn't get a single ship close to us. Can Israel get up a convoy and put together a large amount of troops and do a ground convoy and go to Iran? No, it's absurd. They wouldn't be able to traverse through the countries right now, and they don't have this capability. Israel is not an expeditionary military force. There's very few countries that are. Okay, France is, the UK is, America is, Russia is, and China, limited, but it is. But, it can go to Taiwan, it can go to Japan, it can go to South Korea, but can China really handle an attack in the Middle East? No. Or America, or no. No, what they have to do is they have to establish a base. Like, if they want to take over the Panama Canal, they go to Nicaragua and they establish a base there, which they've done. And then they start bringing troops and equipment in slowly but surely, and they get close proximity, and then they go in by ground. And that's what they do. They don't have the... and with Russia, it's limited, too. They got it, but, the big ones is America, is loaded for bear with expeditionary forces, and the UK and France could get by. Germany, Italy, Belgium, no, they don't have it. The Nordic countries, the Baltic, they don't have it. They don't have it. No. Most countries don't bother with it. Could India do expedition? I don't think India is that set up for it. I don't think so. They might be able to, but they're not leaning in that area. But I suppose push comes to shove, they have aircraft carriers, submarines, troop transports, and so forth. So, what's going to happen next is going to be the demilitarization of Hezbollah, and according to Bible prophecy, we're going to remain in Lebanon and take a major piece of Lebanon for ourselves. Okay? After Lebanon is gone, Israel might say to themselves, well, Rafah can wait. They ain't going anywhere. We got the situation contained. We don't need a lot of soldiers down there. Let's go get Iran. But that could be a little dangerous. So what they'll probably want to do is get rid of the West Bank problems, which is not that difficult for Israel to do. Nablus, Hebron, Jenin is the vast, vast majority of it. And it's been rather quieted. They've gotten rid of a lot of them. And you'll probably start seeing more raids, more attacks on weapon and ammo depots that they have, and, more of a disabling of them in the West Bank, because that's another headache. But that's a minor thing. Okay, they don't have missiles and drones and tanks and armored personnel. It's very minor. Okay? It's not that serious. So what they're going to do is probably get Lebanon, and they're going to put Rafah on the back burner, because Biden and all the Arab states are screaming, leave Rafah alone. So Israel scratched their head and say, What do we care? Let them stay there. Let's bring the humanitarian aid in, leave them there, keep our soldiers there to make sure that they don't get out of Gaza. Missiles don't fly out of Gaza. They don't do ground invasions or anything like that. And that doesn't require a lot of military because you got to remember we've got air support, helicopters and jets. Okay, we've got tanks, we got armored personnel carriers, and we got a very superior military. So it's not going to work for them. Anything they try of any substance other than 5 or 10 or 20 guys trying to shoot rifles at the soldiers, even that gets air support. So we see their location and we phone in for artillery destruction of the location or a bombing or a rocket from a plane, and that's the end of them. So there's not, that much of a threat level. Okay. So in order to appease Biden and Saudi Arabia and Jordan, who helped us, and probably other countries, they just let the Rafa thing sit in suspended animation for a while. And it's essential that Hezbollah be seriously dismantled. Now, when Hezbollah is seriously dismantled and Israel turns its sights on Iran, Iran is scared of us, and they're going to be triple scared of us because Iran will keep trying to bring missiles into Syria and we'll keep blowing them up. They've been doing that for 3 or 4 years, and we'll keep blowing them up. They will continue attacking American bases, and America will sooner or later try to do something about them. Biden has failed miserably with the Houthi problem in Yemen, stopping the Red Sea shipping. He's failed miserably. He doesn't know what to do. Now, this is where you're going to get it, okay? Iran lost with the 330 drones and missiles attack, but it also won. How did it win? Because they got Biden, the village idiot of Washington, D.C., to tell Israel that we don't want any part if you're going to go counterattack them. Okay, so Israel is smart. Netanyahu is an evil person with a heart like Satan's. He's a liar, a cheat, a backstabber. All he cares about is himself. He's really a miserable individual, a poor excuse for an individual. But I will give credit that this Netanyahu creature can actually fight. It's a human, but he's not who you think he is. Some of you know what I'm talking about. He's a human though. He's born of a man, woman, and child. He's going to die, and all. He's not an alien or a shapeshift or anything like that. But I don't like to get into it on here. Some of you know what I mean. So this character Netanyahu can run a war if he wants to, and now he wants to, and he's doing a pretty good job. And he will outwit Jake Sullivan, Blinken, and Biden together. He will outwit Obama. He will outwit all of them because he's capable of it, and he has far more experience than they do. And what's going to happen is most likely this: Iran sees they got a victory. Biden stopped Israel from doing a counterattack. What does that say to the Middle East mentality? And this is where the Americans are dropping the ball, and most people don't understand it. They say, wow, we got weakness here. We've divided America against Israel. So we got away with it once. Let's do it again. So when Israel begins to attack Hezbollah and invade, Hezbollah gets on the phone. Iran, blah, 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 we're getting killed, we're getting wiped out, do something. So then Iran starts with, if Israel doesn't stop the war in 24 hours or 48 hours, we're going to teach Israel another lesson. The not so indirectly implied lesson is we're going to send hundreds of missiles and drones at you again. Okay? Israel knows this because they know how the Middle East works. Biden's well aware of this. So we go into Lebanon. Biden doesn't say boo to us about Lebanon. Hezbollah is not the government of Lebanon. They're a renegade organization. The government of Lebanon wants to get rid of them and so states it publicly all the time. They're afraid of them because they don't have the military might to do it, and they state that all the time. Nobody helps them. They're an ally of Iran, and now they're talking about putting the IRGC on the terrorist list, and Hezbollah's on the terrorist list. And their soldiers have attacked American bases in Saudi and Iraq, although America doesn't seem to care about their bases and their soldiers, but that's another conversation. So the Lebanon, the chances Lebanon has of defeating Israel is 0. Nothing. It's Hamas all over again. Okay? And Lebanon will get hurt. But, if the nations scream, oh, don't hurt the people of Lebanon, Israel, we don't care, we'll back out. Hezbollah can't do human shields because they're not the government. And the government will go crying to the UN and the Hague Criminal Court and cry to Biden and Germany and Italy and France, and they're close with France, the government of Lebanon. And France may come help. Not against, France, if Israel's told to back down on the Lebanese government and civilians, that's going to quickly do it. As a matter of fact, they're going to try to not even hurt the civilians, okay? The civilians in Lebanon are not all against Israel, like the case in Gaza, or almost all. So Israel's going to be, very careful about that, but they got great intel, and they know where Hezbollah works. They know where Hezbollah has weapons, where Hezbollah has tunnels, where they have warehouses, storage, buildings, facilities, where they keep their uniforms, where they have their computers, where they have their vehicles, where the leaders live, and all these things will be blown up. But we're doing that now. You see, this is the prelude to invading Lebanon. We want them as weak as possible, and then when we go in, we get limited resistance, and we can just clean them up. Iran is going to say to themselves, if we lose Hezbollah in Lebanon, we're also going to lose Hezbollah in Syria and Iraq too. But they have lost a lot of deterrence against Israel attacking them because Hamas is defunct. And if Lebanon goes dead for them, which it will, then they're afraid of Israel really laying it on them. So what they're going to do is tell Israel to leave Lebanon alone, or we're going to send another big missile barrage at you day after day after day after day, that type of thing, till we run out of equipment and missiles to shoot their missiles down. So if they try something like that, what Israel would do is attack Iran in a matter of hours. and keep attacking Iran every hour until they cut it out. So Israel's not going to stop fighting Lebanon, and Iran is going to do another attack on Israel. And Biden in France and England and whoever else is going to try to knock the missiles down because they're afraid to stand up against Hezbollah, which is a known accepted terrorist organization, not a legitimate government, and is attacking Israel, and Israel didn't attack them. So it's pretty awkward for them to stand up against Israel in the face of a accepted terrorist group. Hezbollah, or I mean Hamas, is the government of Gaza, and many countries in the UN recognize it as its own place. So, but with Lebanon, nobody recognizes Hezbollah as the official government of Lebanon. And there is a real official government of Lebanon, and they have turned against Hezbollah. So it really sounds like they're going to be afraid to go in and, hurt Israel over Lebanon. It's the wrong fight. It's a bad fight for them. So they're going to let Lebanon happen, and then Iran's going to attack. Now they might, what are they going to do? Call Israel up on the phone and say, well, we know Hezbollah is a terrorist organization and they're killing you for no reason, and you have a right to defend yourself, but can't you just leave them alone because we don't want to have a war with Iran? And then we're going to say, well, we got 100,000 people that can't go home. They're threatening to do ground invasions and rape us and behead us and put us in ovens and cut fetuses out of us and everything else. So, Iran will either threaten before they attack, and then America is going to call Biden up on the phone, and they're going to tell Biden, hey, they're going to attack us. We got to attack them. Don't tell us we have to sit here and take 1,000 missiles or 330 missiles again. Don't tell us that. And then Biden and Blinken and Jake Sullivan and all of them are going to, in the Pentagon, they're going to sit there and they're going to say, well, the probability of Iran attacking them again is probably 95%. Because they did it. And we didn't let Israel counterattack them, so they have no downside. So the worst thing that happens is they launch hundreds and hundreds of missiles and drones, and very few, if any, get through. But they still would accomplish a deterrent value on Israel, and after they send, let's say the next time, 500 or 600 missiles, and maybe all of them get knocked down, then they tell Israel, listen, get out of Lebanon. If you don't, we're going to do this again and again and again, right? You got it? So the Pentagon people are going to sit there and say, well, we got to shut Iran down. And this is how Biden is going to this is how Netanyahu's going to go drag Biden and America into fighting Iran. Now, I've been talking to the Lord about this morning, and he was correcting me on some things I was thinking were going to happen. So I believe this is really what's going to happen. Now, things can, of course, change as we go along, but I doubt it. What's the time frame on this? Not much. Not much. Israel has already aggressively increased its air attacks and artillery attacks inside Lebanon, high up in Lebanon. And I don't know how much longer they're going to take to invade, but not much. Hold on. Yeah. Mise. Hello? Oh, I don't know what the heck that was. Number I never saw. Let me go look at it again. No, it's a local number. I don't know who it is. If it's important, they'll call back. Okay. So what's the time frame? Well, till we do a ground invasion in Lebanon, it's going to be, I would say, at least 10 days. We called up more reservists the other day. So that shows me that this is moving in that direction. Let me take a break. I want to make sure I have no delivery truck out in the front. I can't get a phone call through, but I doubt that. No, they probably just some telemarketer or something like that. So that is how I believe Netanyahu is going to suck America into getting into the war with Iran. And I think it's going to work. Why? Because then America has to say, okay, our position is just to defend Israel. Israel didn't do anything wrong here. They didn't counterattack Iran. They have a right to defend themselves from Hezbollah, who unprovoked went after them. It was a terrorist organization, not a legitimate government or anything else. And if they don't defend Israel, they don't have any ground to stand on. So their position will be, well, we won't go offensive to Iran, we'll just go defensive and block as much of the missile and drone traffic as we possibly can to spare Israel. Now, what will Iran do the next time? Oh, Ayatollah will blow his cap and he'll call for attacks on the American bases in Iraq and Syria, and he may attack them himself. By this point, he's going to be very emboldened and say America's afraid of us. And he may launch missiles at Iraq and Syria, and he could probably hit quite a few of them over there. So he might do 200 or 300 missiles on the bases that America has. And there you have your war with America and Iran. But America will not go alone. They will have NATO. So you will have America, France, UK, Germany, Italy of substance going after them. And you got to understand, once they start going after Iran, it will be air attacks. And Iran will keep raining missiles down on the bases. Now, if they kill the bases, they may start going after the UAE and Kuwait are their targets, and Saudi and Jordan. They're really mad at Jordan for knocking the drones and missiles down. Iran are not balanced people. They're run by Satan bots, but you know how many people are in psychiatric prisons that are Satan bots? There's a lot. So Biden inadvertently, by stopping Israel from counterattacking Iran, has put himself into a war with Iran. It's just going to take a few weeks. Because he's so stupid. And Blinken and Jake Sullivan ain't so smart either. Now, I expect the guys in the Pentagon, not the 3 stars and the 4 stars, the majors and the colonels, the analysts, intelligence analysts and strategists, they know these things. But they don't listen to them. They're not Satan's chosen. They're not wearing stars like generals, and they're not listening to him. And Biden is playing politics. He's saying, well, the stinking generals, they don't got reelected, I do. So I can't do things their way because I got to get reelected. But he's not going to listen to him. Same mistake Hitler made. Same mistake many kings and rulers make. And that's how I see it playing out. Now, where's this going to go prophetically? Russia. Is Russia going to get involved to protect Iran? No. No. It can't. Russia's spread out in Europe. He can't waste his time with this. It doesn't get him anywhere. It just endangers his position. He's looking good right now to conquering Ukraine. He's got NATO scared of him. And NATO's building up to get him. He's building up to get NATO. He's not getting into the Middle East. He doesn't know what America would do. Also, if he gets to the Middle East, the whole NATO in Europe and the European Union that's not in NATO are going to freak out. They're going to say, we got more imperialistic escapades from Russia. We better stop this idiot or he's going to take over Europe. They feel that way now. If he starts hooking up with a renegade lunatic outfit like Iran to take out Israel that tries to get along with all these people in Europe, they're going to go crazy. They're going to say, we got to stop this guy. And then troops go into Ukraine and troops come down to the Middle East, and Putin winds up spread out too thin and he can't hold up. He ain't going to do much. Politically, he'll do whatever he can. Diplomatically, whatever he can. Militaristically, no. No. He can't. China. You see, a gift to Biden would be Putin coming down to Israel to help Iran fight a war against Israel. And he could. He has expeditionary capability. He has an air base in Syria that he could put 200 planes in or 100 planes. He could bring 18 or 20 warships down here. But he's going to take a lot of losses against Israel. And he knows Israel is going to work with Ukraine to mess him up bad. And he's going to weaken himself for Europe. This is not Putin's job, it's Iran's job. In the axis against America, it's North Korea, Iran. As second tier, top tier is China and Russia. Third tier would be like Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas, Venezuela, Cuba, things I don't really care that much about, but they help. So Nicaragua could also be third tier. Probably is. So Russia just can't do it. Okay? Now, China can't do it. China's vested in the Pacific. North Korea is constantly maneuvering, pushing around South Korea. China is constantly moving, pushing around the Philippines, Japan, and Taiwan. They're not going nowhere. China's not going to give up that position. The idea in their coalition against America, and they all want to get rid of America because then they feel they could conquer the world and divide it up. And if God didn't intervene, they probably could. And NATO knows that. And the European Union knows that. Central and South America, I don't think know what they're doing. Same for Africa. So, China stays where they're supposed to be. Russia stays where they're supposed to be. And Iran has to deal with the problem. Iran is an idiot operation. They have no viable navy, no viable air force. They're idiots. I mean, you don't go waging war without these tools. So when America defends Israel from Iran on the next go round because Israel's behaving and listening to Daddy Joe Biden. Then what? Iran pops their cork. Jordan's helping Israel, Saudi's helping Israel, maybe the UAE and so forth. They're going to start attacking like crazy. They're going to see America afraid to do anything. And they're going to think they could eradicate the bases that America has in Iraq and Syria. And then start harassing the allies of America, which is Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, Oman, Saudi, Jordan. They'll start closing the Persian Gulf to shipping, spike oil prices, and if America stays dormant long enough, they'll attack Kuwait and the UAE first, and Saudi. From the Houthis will attack Saudi. And that'll cause oil prices to go through the roof, double, triple, and they'll start breaking the West that way. So Biden will have to get involved with Iran. It'll ultimately be a ground invasion. It won't be, now it may just be heavy air attacks and Iran gets defunct. America can deliver more and better air attacks than Israel. Combined with the UK and France, they really can do it. But they're not going to hit the underground facilities that Iran has. They got many of them. So to really shut Iran down, they have to do a ground invasion. To shut Iran off for a month or two, they can just do it with bombing. But to really put Iran out of the way, they have to blow up their underground facilities, some of which are 300 feet down. America has 25,000-pound bombs that I think have to go in a B-52. And they're highly accurate, and they might go down 300 feet and do the job. So then they don't have to do ground invasion. America says they could do it. These bombs burrow down and then explode. So they actually may be able to do it without a ground invasion. Stop blowing up their underground bunkers, air terminals, missile terminals, and all this stuff. You know. So they could manage without a ground invasion. They take out the Iranian Navy, that's child's play. They have AWACS in the Middle East. They did a while ago, and the AWACS will just annihilate the go-fast boats. And they just disable the Iranian oil refineries and the piers where they load the oil and natural gas into boats. They blow them up. And that's the end of their economy. But what will Iran do? What will China and Russia do in North Korea? Well, the sleeper agents in America will get released. That will cause great distress in America. And that's in Jeremiah 50 and 51, sort of. It says ruler fighting ruler. It doesn't say illegals, but it says that America will be invaded. And the invasion has already happened. They just haven't been deployed. And then they'll back it up with forces from North Korea, China, and Russia. Now, China and North Korea may not hit Taiwan first. And of course, North Korea hits South Korea. Why? They don't need to hit them first. They figure, let's just save our military and get America. And after we get rid of America, we could go take whatever we want. Because combined, nobody could beat us. And they would be right, except God, of course. And God backing Israel and the two witnesses. But they don't know or believe in those things. So they soften America up with the sleeper agents, hit their military bases, wreck the cities, cause turmoil, hit the power supply, the water supply, all kinds of things. And then they come in for the attack. And at the same time, they have America deploying a lot of military assets in the Pacific and in Europe, which is ongoing right now. They did a good job of that. And next comes the Middle East, so it makes it easier for them. If they don't do anything, what happens is Iran goes down. America fortifies the Middle East, builds it up under their control, calms everything down. And now Europe is free to go after Russia, and this is probably going to happen. And Russia could not handle this kind of a fight, especially if America is still ticking. But America won't be ticking. Now, at some point, America is going to put troops in Israel. That we see America doing evil in our sight in Israel in Jeremiah 50:51. So they'll have troops here under the guise of protecting us from Iran. And they'll use these troops against us to force us to peace or something like that, or give the land up, or both. So Netanyahu and his generals have figured out a way to do this. That's going to work, playing on the deficiencies of the Biden administration and the lunacy of the Iranian administration. And it's all going to work well for Israel. Iran, being an enemy of Israel, is going to be destroyed. Iran, being one of the countries in Jeremiah 30, verse 11, that the Jews were dispersed into. And it says in Jeremiah 30, verse 11, that all the nations that he dispersed the Jews into shall be destroyed. And that's associated with the birth pangs which we're in now. So yes, Iran's going to go. Iran might be buying their own cock and bull stories back and thinking they're so tough. This is a mistake leaders make. They are missing two massive ingredients for a good military, and that's a Navy and an Air Force. Star Wars movies, is that what you want me to answer? Why did the IDF not get involved for approximately 7 hours in October 7th? Well, I've explained this several times. Biden didn't want to talk to Netanyahu for a long time. Then all of a sudden, sometime in September, he says Netanyahu could come here anytime he wants. So a few days after that, on September 20th, Netanyahu shows up visiting Biden. Then he comes back to Israel, and approximately 2 weeks later, there's a ground invasion through Gaza. There was a lot of women soldiers in lookout posts by Gaza that were calling for help, and the people answering the phones were telling them that they're crazy, there is no invasion. There's cameras, infrared cameras, and sensors on the border. That didn't alarm anybody for some crazy reasons. The girls and the soldiers, the male and female soldiers at the border with Gaza were crying for help, which usually takes, 5 to 10 minutes, and it didn't come for hours. There were police there calling for help, and help didn't come for 7 or 8 hours. I was sitting outside that morning getting ready for the broadcast, and I saw all the missiles coming in. I thought the system was broken or Israel was under an extreme attack from everybody. I didn't know what it was. And I said, the IDF, it was all around Gaza. So they said, the IDF will be there 15, 20 minutes to shut it down. It took the IDF approximately 3.5 hours. So you put the pieces together and draw your own conclusions. It's not hard. I don't see Netanyahu as serving Jehovah, the God of Israel. I don't see that at all. Okay, I got rid of what I needed to get rid of. So, the daughter of Babylon, America, is going to be attacked. Okay? And we know that. And it's going to happen during the year of, it'll happen as we have the overlap between Year of Recompenses, Year of Redemption, with the Day of Vengeance in both. So it's a little bit away, but it's coming. And they want to weaken America when they do this. So Iran's a great thing. So Iran did a very illogical move by attacking Israel because it cannot sustain an attack from Israel. Israel showed Iran they could sustain attack from them. The guy that used to be very, very high ranking in the military, I think he was a defense minister, said that in the several hours that Iran was attacking us, they had their maximum capacity of drone and missile flow. He doesn't think they could launch more than what they did at the same period of time, but they can go for more hours. Like they could go for 48 hours in a row or something like that. But Israel will try to shut it down before then. Now, what you have to understand, what Iran cannot possibly, under any circumstances, protect themselves with against Israeli jets that are stealth and not stealth, is the destruction of their ports where they load their oil and natural gas onto ships. Those cannot be underground. You can't heavily fortify them. They're gone. Oil refineries are gone. Fires will result. Could take weeks to put them out, months to put them out. Okay? The Iranian Navy could be decimated. And just stop there. Iran's got no money coming in now. How are they going to fund the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, the militias in Iraq and Syria? They can't. These guys would basically be unemployed. They have to go get real jobs. Not like work in a bakery, a supermarket, drive a cab, real work. What are they going to do? Starve? That's all Israel has to do. Israel doesn't have to do anything else. Now, what Israel will do is attack their radar and their missile launcher sites, their missile storehouses, their drone storehouses, their factories to make drones, missiles, and weapons. They'll strike all of that. And that stuff is predominantly above ground. Some missile storage underground, some weapon storage underground, but it's predominantly above ground. And that stuff will be destroyed, which Biden and NATO will like because it means less potential for Iran giving weapons to Russia to use in Ukraine. So from Bible prophecy, we know Iran's going to be destroyed as per Jeremiah 30:11. It's Elam in the Old Testament, but you'll see Jeremiah 49 talks about Elam, but that's the past, except for the very last verse in Jeremiah 49, which says, in the latter days or the end of times, that God will return the captivity of Elam. Well, that already happened. They're back in Iran. But the destructions over there are from the old past. Jeremiah 30, verse 11, tells us what's going to happen to all these nations, okay? And when Biden turns against Iran the next time, which they will, as a result of us conquering Lebanon, and attacks and helps us stop the Iranian attack again, which they're going to do. I mean, what Israel's going to say, how's it play? Well, if Lebanon stops attacking us, it's over. We'll stop. And we want them back behind the Litani River, like the UN said. So they say, go back behind the Litani River and it's over. Israel gives us a word. No, we want to defy the UN. We want to keep killing Israel. We want our money from Iran. We don't want to be unemployed. Okay. Have it your way. Go ahead, Israel. Wipe them out. That's what this scenario is. And then Iran steps in and says, no, we want Israel to let Lebanon keep wiping them out and not defend themselves. They're all going to scratch their heads and they're going to say no. Lebanon's going to unleash more weapons and missiles and drones, and the Israel, America and the Allies will knock the stuff down along with Israel. Iran's going to look bad again. They're going to pull their hair out and they're going to start hitting bases that America has in the Middle East. And if that doesn't stop America, they'll start hitting allies like Jordan, like Kuwait, like UAE, like Saudi Arabia, like Oman, maybe Qatar and Bahrain. And eventually, America's going to pop its cork. It's not going to let it get that far. And they're going to go take action. And they're going to tell Iran. When Iran threatens to attack Israel for failing to stop attacking Lebanon. Now, mind you, at this point in time, Israel still has not gone into Rafah. So Netanyahu, Biden's playing a song on his violin and Israel's singing along with them, but not really. But it looks that way. And then Biden's going to tell Iran, we're ironclad in protecting Israel. If you do this again, under circumstances like this, we're going to go on the offense against you. And there you have it. And Iran's going to say they don't believe it. Biden's a baby. And they'll do it, and then comes the offense. And once they start going on the offense from Iran being a Middle East mentality, with a terrorist bent, is basically a candidate for a psychiatric prison. They will lash out at America and her allies even further, and the sleeper agents, China, Russia, and everybody will say, now we do the sleeper agents. And America's going to be real perplexed. They're going to have a lot of military resources in the Middle East and in the Pacific and in Europe, and now they got an uprising in America. And then China and Russia, after the uprising in America cripples their military from the sleeper agents, they invade. And they'll be successful, and that's what the Bible tells you. Read Isaiah 47, Jeremiah 50:51. So the best way I can lay it out to you is this. And it's going to happen fast, weeks, not many months. It'll happen in, the most, I would say, 3.5 months, roughly. That's the most. It could happen in a month. Iran's sitting there saying, gee, we could attack Israel anytime we want. The only downside we got is they knock our missiles and drones down. Who gives a hoot about that? We just build more. This is wonderful. The American bases may have a couple to defend them from missiles, right? But they're not going to, if they take one missile base and put 40 or 50 missiles and drones at it, there's not enough countermeasures on the American base to get them through it. Or they can put 100 missiles and drones at a base. Just swarm attack it, And then they'll have the ground militias do invasion on the base and they won't kill the soldiers, they'll rape the women soldiers if there are any there, which there are. And they'll take them hostage and continually rape them. And if that gets out on American media, they'll be marching on the White House to wipe Iran off the map, That's the best I can say. Things we don't see and we don't expect happen throughout this thing. China may do things we don't anticipate to. NATO may do things we don't anticipate as well. So can Israel. But the general picture is going to look like this. And Israel's being very, very smart about this, Netanyahu, with his methods. He hates Iran. And this is why they're doing what they're doing. It makes the most sense for Israel. Biden and America don't understand the mentality of the Middle Eastern terrorists. Netanyahu does. And the bad news for Israel is with the schmuck Netanyahu, I call him the curse on Israel, we might have to go through another attack of hundreds and hundreds of missiles and drones before America realizes what they're doing. And then Biden will find himself painted in a corner, and they're going to say Israel didn't attack Rafah. They have a right to attack Hezbollah. Iran's trying to take control of the Middle East, telling everybody what to do. Now they're attacking them again without any provocation from Israel. So Israel's being a good little soldier and listening to Papa Biden. So it's time to kick butt with Iran. There you have it. And then we could always, I haven't heard him open his squawk box about that one yet. That is interesting. But he might be waiting for a good opportunity to get to do it. No, I'm not waiting for the rapture. Want me to tell you why I'm not waiting for the rapture? We get this every day, don't we? Or almost every day. John 6, verse 39. And this is the Father's will which hath sent me, that all of which he hath given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise him up at the last day. Everybody gets raised up on the same day, the last day, when there are no more days, after the millennium, after Satan's released. And he says it again in John, that was John 6:39. He says it again in John 6:40, John 6:44, and John 6:54, 4 times. Everybody gets raised up on the same day. There's no left behind rapture. Maybe for a minute or 2 or 3 or something like that, but there's no left behind rapture. And it happens at the last day, which means there's no more days. That's the last of the days. So if you want to listen to some jackass with a big building and a denomination and a podium and a suit, be my guest. Because that's another gospel. And those people preach another Jesus. They preach the December 25th one. The December 25th Jesus, well, that's the birthday of the mythological sun god called Tammuz. How about that? And Tammuz's mother is Esther, Easter. And if you were going to worship Tammuz, the sun god, what day would you worship him on? Tuesday? Wednesday? How about Sunday? Oh, hit home yet? And in the 10 Commandments, which the churches never say is done away with, I mean, you're not supposed to murder, commit adultery. So, that's not done away with. So, neither is the holy day. We got problems. We had this yesterday. The whole country, in my opinion, was under some kind of internet attack, and we had a lot of trouble. And woke up this morning, it got better, but they could have resumed the attack. Yeah, and I guess I accomplished what I wanted to do today. Much thanks to those of you that give offerings. I mean, some people don't like this. They like the Bible studies. Many of you do. But Yeshua told us to watch, and that's part of my job, to teach the prophecies about Israel and to help you, so to speak, watch and understand what's going on so you don't get taken off guard. It's very important. You have to understand that. Okay? So I can't just ignore this stuff and stay on Bible prophecies. There's only so many anyway. You need this too. And a lot of people, as reflected in the offerings, don't like this. But I'm sorry, I have to do it. It's very important, and the Lord leads me to do this in some days. Some days no, Bible studies, some days this. It's important. Maybe you don't expect, but the church people are about to go into sleep when they see things evolve, and to them. So we don't want to be like them, and it's not. And this is part of my job. So I'm sorry. I appreciate those of you that do support me with offerings, and many of you that don't. I scratch my head. Covetous is the root of all evil, mammon, and you want to muzzle the ox when he treadeth the grain. Go ahead, see how far you get with that. Malachi 2 refers to that type of behavior as robbing God. He puts people in ministry positions to live off the spiritual, and the people don't want to give of their carnal to those that give them of the spiritual, which get it from the Lord. And that's the way God works. And when you defeat that, it's the same as not doing offerings at the temple. It's very similar. It's not the literal the same, but it's in the same realm, robbing God, because you're defeating his system. You say, well, I don't want to pay. So the ones that do pay are keeping this thing going for the people that don't. And it's a joke how few people pay or do offerings. I think it's 1% from the subscribers. Based on the subscribers, it's about 1%. That's straight and narrow is the way, of few be that find it. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and many find it. So anyway, please pray for me and my wife Rivka. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for our finances. Pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues. They be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for better videos. And I could use some prayer for my eyes, if you would. They were getting better. I was taking some supplements and they seemed to help, but I was getting this insane diarrhea from that, so I had to stop. And I researched it on the internet and it said, yeah, it causes diarrhea, and it was a large amount of a vitamin B3, and I can't take it, I can't tolerate it, so I pray for that. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and um, it's. I hope you got something out of it, and it's really important that you see what's coming. It's extremely important, okay? Because what's going to come on the world within the next 3.5 months is massive. All the nations he dispersed the Israelites to over the thousands of years are going to be destroyed. That's probably 125 nations. And America's going to go, probably first. And then you're going to have the next big exodus and all this stuff, and you guys, you can't just do couch potato prophecy stuff. You got to understand where it's coming. And the train is moving down the track towards Zechariah 12, full speed. And that's when they surround Judah and Jerusalem. Not attack, surround. Now when that happens, that's probably the day of vengeance. That's the transition into redemption. You need to know this stuff. If you don't know this stuff, guys, you're going to go into confusion when it happens, and you're going to go into fear. You say, what's going on? I don't understand. That's what the church is going to be doing, and I don't want you to be like the church. So these lessons are important as much as the prophecy, but many people don't consider them that important. Well, you can go get current event news anywhere, but nobody's going to talk to you the way I do. There's not one out there that gives you prophecy and lines it up with the current events and analyzes current events correctly. If you go out there, you'll probably find people that'll tell you, yeah, they're going to knock off Lebanon and then go after Iran. But they're not going to explain to you how that's going to get America involved in a fight with Iran, which is what China and Russia and Iran and North Korea want. They want that military in the Middle East. So they got to wind this thing up. So Biden starts bringing, 40 or 50 more warships, 200 or 300 more planes, maybe another 100,000 soldiers. they want to wind it up. You get his assets out of America. Makes it easier for them. Okay? And these are not the things you hear everywhere. Okay? Because I listen to a lot of these people, I watch what they're talking about, and nobody's talking about this with correct Bible prophecy. So, at about 2 hours, well, I was trying to get to 90 minutes. It's hard to do. So, anyway, I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach.